The demand for group and private events is at an all-time high. Is your business ready to capitalize on all these opportunities? With Restaurant as your booking partner, you can ensure event success this year and beyond.
With no booking fees or commissions, Restaurant has helped over 2,000 restaurants, bars, and breweries reach local event planners who are looking for a space for their next gathering. Whether it's a birthday, anniversary, graduation, or corporate event, Restaurant will get your space booked.
Try it today and receive 3 months completely risk-free by signing up at restaurant.com/podcast. That's restaurant.com/podcast.
Hi, everyone. I'm Claudia Sarek.
And I'm Spencer Michael.
And this is So You Want to Run a Restaurant, created by the team at backofhouse.io, the most trusted resource for restaurant tech. Today's guest is Dara Lyubinsky, the founder of Nourish Culinary, a personal chef company where chefs cook directly in the client's home.
Which is a fascinating model because when people think about professional cooking, they picture restaurants, but Dara basically built a whole company around chefs working in private kitchens instead.
And she didn't start there either. She actually came up through New York media and then some New York kitchen experience, and even worked in recipe development and food media, including work connected to The View.
So she's seen a lot of sides of the food world, restaurants, media, and now this growing personal chef industry, and we're excited to talk with her today. Well, Dara, thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. So we always like to start off with in the beginning and how you got started. And I know you initially started your career in media, and then you transitioned into food, and you actually started working in some of New York's busiest kitchens. So was that always the plan when you kind of left media to go into food, or was it like, I can't wait to start cleaning out a deep fryer because it looks like so much fun?
Yeah, it's not a journey we often hear.
No.
Yeah, no, there was no exact plan, no linear plan. That's generous of you. I had studied communication and political science and got my dream job as a publicist at Time Magazine, and I was doing red carpets and getting the editors on the talking head news shows every week. And I had thought I had arrived. A year in, I kind of looked around and I realized how much I hated it and how toxic the work environment was and how I didn't really want to be like any of the people I was working with or for. And I was having these really long days, and I would go home and cook until midnight and make
Go ahead.
soup for all my neighbors or, things like that. And it really became a sort of nagging notion of maybe I should be one of those like career changers that you always hear about. So I went to culinary school at night while I was working, and came out of culinary school in 2008, promptly was let go from my PR job. So sort of had the universe force me out on my own and decided to give it a go. And I went into restaurants at that time because I knew that it was something that I needed to, experience a little bit. But I sort of always knew in the back of my mind that I would like to try to pursue a different part of the food industry. So I started
Right.
out in some kitchens throughout the city, but with a sort of overall exit plan for making my way out of that situation at some point.
How long did you survive the regular kitchens before you said, no more of that?
Yeah, about a year. I didn't want to, go out with my colleagues, drinking or partying or, whatever. And when we got off late at night,
Yeah.
I wanted to go home and go to sleep, and I wanted to like wake up in the morning, and I sort of,
It's a lifestyle. It's
a
a
lifestyle.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yep. And at the same time, I wanted to, be accepted by the people that I was working with. And I wanted to be viewed as a peer. And thinking into the future, I knew I wanted to like have a family one day. I lasted about a year before I left. And I was
Well,
lucky
talk to
enough.
us about that transition then. Like, talk to us about when you decided that, hey, I'm going to leave the industry, but I actually want to go and I want to work in directly for people or in their homes. I mean,
Yeah.
because that feels like sure, you were in food, but like that's a big switch going from the traditional space into something else.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to have a friend of a friend at the time who was a private chef. And she offered me an opportunity to come and sort of spend a couple days with her working for her client. And while the stakes were high in a very different kind of way, it was also much different. It was in somebody's very beautiful home and
Right.
cooking for a family, which is something that I was very used to doing for my own family. So I just, I had the opportunity to sort of try it out and see And when I did that with her, it was like a very natural, like I could really see this being something that I do long term.
Mhm.
Being in New York at the time, though, was really exciting. I was meeting all kinds of people through her, and so that also brought me into the crux of my new food world and my,
Yeah.
like, media past. So
Kind of a perfect intersection there because you have to build quite the network, and it's like you had that baked in, especially being a publicist. All you're doing out, you're out there shaking hands, talking to people all the
yeah.
time, and then
Yeah.
you've got the food on top of it. It's like that's what a perfect like
Yeah,
crossroads.
yeah. Food media, especially in New York, is it's a very tight-knit club. There's not a lot of work, and so there's sort of some big players that do a lot of the bigger stuff, and so really kind of trying to get in with them. And I mean, listen, I did a lot of work for free in the beginning. Just let me come and help. Let me do the shop for you. Let me, anything I could do
Yeah,
to kind of
that's
ingratiate myself.
that's how it goes. Yeah, you stage somewhere,
Yeah,
right? It's kind of your version of staging,
Yeah,
exactly.
to
yeah,
to
same
give
thing.
free offer. And then
Exactly.
you had some fairly big names that you were personal chefing for, like Eli Manning and Lorne Michaels, and
Yeah.
kind of the New York media elite in that way.
Yeah, a little bit. There were lots of just busy New York families whose names nobody would recognize, but once
They didn't
you
play quarterback for the New York Giants. No.
get a recognizable name, people are a little more interested in hearing, what you have to say or
Yeah,
tasting.
tell
Yeah.
us everything. No, I'm
Yeah.
teasing. I'm
Exactly.
Well,
teasing.
yeah, there's some NDAs, but not for them. So,
Yeah.
no, I mean, the funniest thing is at the end of the day, people just want to eat like delicious homemade food. A lot of
Mhm.
roasted chicken and like yummy vegetables and things for people's kids, but good people, really good. I was very lucky to meet
Good.
those people early on.
No one demanding like, we're going to Tahiti today, so get on the plane. You're going to be cooking on the beach later. Like nothing that outrageous, but
There are those jobs too,
yeah.
for sure. I'd say those, fall more under the like yacht chef or like
Yes.
private
Yeah.
chef, category like, where you're full time for one family going where
Exactly.
they go.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, that's that's a different thing than what I sort of ended up doing with Nourish.
Yeah.
Where
Talk to us about that and how you first launched your business, Nourish Culinary, and what the earliest version of the business looked like when you started it versus what it's kind of evolved into today, if it has.
yeah, so Nourish Culinary started as Dara, the chef.
Mhm.
It's a strange thing to go from I, me, this is what I do, how I do it. And I was cooking in New York for a number of years privately, but when I was pregnant with my first daughter in 2014, I knew I didn't want to stay in New York sort of long term. I'm from the DC area originally, my family's here. Wanted to, raise my kids, my family. So it was sort of always in the cards to move back to this area.
Mhm.
So moved back to DC and I was just cooking myself for private clients. I was very fortunate to have some wonderful clients in New York who had connections in DC that sort of helped introduce me and make that transition a little bit smoother.
Mhm.
But in the beginning, it was just the same as it had been in New York, me by myself cooking for families. And I went through a lot of iterations of that. After a while, I was really lonely. I was tired of working by myself. I met a
Yeah.
woman who was about my age, who was a great cook, and I decided to make her a partner, and that turned out to not be the right fit. And we sort of moved on from that situation. And over time, after turning clients away and turning business away, I sort of realized, what if I could sort of bring on a contractor and
Mhm.
teach them a little bit about how I like to do things and make this into a company? So that was
Yeah.
kind of the genesis of going from Dara to Nourish. And really what kind of kicked that into overdrive was COVID. I mean, when COVID started, I was personally cooking for about 8 families and
Wow.
when everybody went home, they still wanted meals. And when they were ready to let people back in their homes again, I had a kindergartner on Zoom and I had, a younger baby and I just really started to feel fried. And so
Mm.
I
Didn't we all? Yeah. Didn't we all?
yeah.
Man,
Oh, the
don't
Zoom
take me
So,
back.
fatigue.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
eye
yeah.
my eyes and my
I
headaches
know.
Yeah.
from all the Zooming and
Yeah.
everything. Yes.
Yeah. So I brought on a contractor, and at first it was me and 2 other contractors, and I very slowly, started saying "we" instead of "I," and,
Mhm.
letting go a little bit of, like, the connection that I had to my relationship between me and my clients, and start to sort of trust other people and teach other people and grow.
That's
So
hard. How did you do that? I mean, that's a practice in and of itself to allow because you're building it's your baby and you've
yeah,
built this business and it's yours and it's also so personal. The stuff that you're talking about is it's very one-on-one with clients. It's not just like you're selling something and then kind of
yeah,
letting them go.
yeah.
No, like you're talking about this is incredibly personal. So how did you handle some of the dynamics of that?
Yeah, it's really personal, it's really intimate. You're in somebody's home, and as
Yeah,
like, no matter the size of the home, the kitchen is always the middle of life in a
of
home.
course.
So everyone hangs out in the kitchen. You become privy to families' inner workings, dynamics between family members. It's very intimate. And so I had to find people who were great chefs and great cooks who
Mhm.
are also great people and reliable and communicative. And, that
There
Personality.
there are yeah, I know you only did it for a year, but there are a lot of pirates working in kitchens.
I have met
Not
them all.
anybody
I
you would
have met
want
them
to
all.
welcome and nobody you would wanna welcome into your home
Yeah,
at all.
It's a niche kind of person that
it's
Oh,
true.
this
It's
kind of
really
field
true.
fits.
but
It's
man,
Yeah.
can
really
they sear a halibut, I tell you, but don't meet my family.
no, exactly. And so
Yeah.
That was really
kind of
funny.
like picking through, those people. I joke that we kiss a lot of frogs, in order to find like the chefs that kind of check those 2 boxes. So
Mhm.
yeah, so since that time, I guess the 2020 and now 20 in the past 6 years, we've gone from 2 contractors to 25. So now there's 25 people on the team, and
Wow, that's a large team.
it's growing into a large team. I don't yeah, I mean, it's
Now,
a little bit
are
crazy, but
you are you a part kinda helping them find clients? Because that's usually the toughest part about private chefing. This is a win-win. You get great chefs, and they
yeah,
get a conduit to be able to get new
yeah,
clients, and is there any coaching and teaching that you are as someone who's been in business and in
yeah.
media, is that part of it as well?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we have I think a pretty extensive interviewing process where we're really trying to get a feeling for who these people are and understand them as people and their food. But yeah, at this point, we've built a business and we have some, brand awareness, name recognition in our area. So, and that's another big difference is, when it's just me, everything had been word of mouth, with client acquisition and up to a point.
Which is what we've heard from others on the show, by the way, who have done
Yeah.
private chefing or have at least, dabbled in that as well.
Yeah.
It's all word of mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. So, really trying to protect that and protect that reputation is, you have to take risks, and not everybody that we've hired has been right. But I had a mentor, a client who sort of turned into a mentor back in New York, and he taught me hire slowly and
Fire
fire
fast.
fast. Yeah.
Mhm,
So that was
mhm.
like really, learning how to trust that gut instinct of like,
Yeah, when it doesn't fit, it doesn't
yeah.
fit.
And people show you who they are, and you have to
Yeah.
believe what they show you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What's one of the misconceptions that people have about the personal chef business and working in this or working in or just people that are interested in this?
Yeah. I think that social media has done no favors for the actual work of this business. It's
But we are
especially
seeing the rise of these influencers that
oh
are
yeah. Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, who doesn't wanna go in, like, the middle of the Hamptons and watch Wishbone
sure.
Kitchen going all over the Hamptons and
Yeah, I mean,
pull
who doesn't wanna be Chef Bae, right? I mean, she's like,
Yeah.
good for you, but I think
Yeah.
for every Chef Bae or for every, Salt Bae or whoever, I think for every influencer that we're seeing, there are
Mhm.
dozens of chefs that are just in it, in the work, and
Mhm.
And you guys know showing a thing on social media is very different than doing the thing. And it's
Yes,
a
very much
whole
so.
other job,
The
to show
Instagram
it.
life. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
look at I picked these fresh herbs and I made this incredible dish. And oh, by the way, I was cutting carrots at the commissary until midnight before I woke up at 6 a.m. to drive
Right.
here to
Right.
unpack everything. That you don't show that right on
Right.
Instagram
Somebody
because
should
that's not
make
No
that
one wants
glamorous.
account.
to see that. No one wants to see
Yeah,
it. They want to see
I
the
want to see
glitz
it.
and the glamour, right?
Yeah,
They want to, but you know what I mean, though. It's like if it's not sexy, it's not cool to show that. It's cool to show the other side.
Right. Yeah. It's so I think that there's a lot of people who are very green in the
Hmm.
industry and very new and are realizing earlier on in their careers that they don't want to stay in restaurants and are looking for some sort of pivot. And I think from what is being shown on social media all the time, you think, oh, okay, well, I know how to cook, so I know how to cook in someone's home. There's a lot, there's a lot that goes into personal chefing that just you learn over time. You can only know after you've experienced it or, you know, been through it once or twice. There's certain ways to set up client relationships, certain ways to set up contracts. There's the business piece of it that was hard earned for me. I was a a chef with a little bit of a different background. I didn't know how to like balance a spreadsheet. And so there's like the business piece of it that, a lot of new people don't understand about getting into this side of the business.
I was going to ask about the different clients because I know it can be, when you're hiring, obviously, you need to find people that can be part of the show as well. Because I know some clients are going to want to sit around the kitchen island and talk to you and
Yeah.
chit chat. And is there others that is there a balance between people that want the show and the cooking and they want you to be part of the evening and then others that like don't make eye contact, just stay in the kitchen? Is there a balance
Yeah.
between those two?
Yeah, I think so much of what we do involves like listening to who our clients are as we're getting to know them. And some people are bringing our chefs in, every Monday to make meals for their families throughout the week because they're just overloaded by life and need healthy, delicious meals for their family to get through the work week. And some people are really trying to have a dinner party to impress their friends. And sometimes there's a crossover with those people, but not often. And so, when I was first back here, I did a dinner party and it was in the very beginning of me bringing on other chefs. And the whole time I was crystal clear that it was not me cooking this dinner party. It was Nourish Culinary chef. I think it was Chef Jess and Chef Jess, and Chef Jess showed up to cook. And the client was like, well, where's Dara? Because they wanted
Yeesh.
me to walk out in my chef coat and they wanted to tell their friends that I had also cooked for Eli. And, it was just all about that. They weren't even so interested in the food. So, it really is understanding who people are and what they're looking for. And that's what helps us now figure out which chefs are right for which families, are right for which, meal prep clients versus, gatherings and events and that kind of thing.
It's almost
Hmm.
combined front of house, back of house. Because, the back of house in a traditional restaurant, back of house creates the meals, and the front of house, the mark of a good server is understanding every guest and the pace of the evening and how they
Yeah.
want things to go. And are you trying to get to a show, so you need to be out of here? Are you here for the whole night because it's your special night and understanding how this? So you almost have to do both of those
Yeah.
as a private chef.
And dishes.
Then you go
And the
back to the back of
dishes.
house and do
Yeah.
the
Right.
dishes. Yeah. Another thing that doesn't show on Instagram is
Yep.
it's the
That's right.
The
dishwashing.
cleanup. Clean
Yeah.
all the
We have a lot of chefs that come to us and apply to work with us who are coming from years and years of restaurants and they're ready for a change. And I think one of the biggest things that they come to terms with as they're making the transition is like, I'm not just, in my spot on the line. I'm menu creation, I'm, purveyor, I'm prep cook, I'm executive chef, I am dishwasher. And so it's like a very different mindset that
Because you get in
happens.
that zone, when you're like I said, a grill station, saute station, those ones are usually the two toughest where you're just head down working. You've got 25 things to make and you're just doing it. You can't do that. That doesn't exist in private chefing. And
Yeah.
someone you can't
Yeah.
start throwing pans in a bucket on the ground going, "Okay,
Yeah.
somebody wash these."
Yeah.
It doesn't operate that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and then a kid, like,
Mhm.
toddles into the kitchen and needs help with their homework, you know? It's very, very different. Yeah.
Yeah. So has working in private chefing changed your perspective on the traditional restaurant kitchen at all? And the people that have come over? Because, like you said, now you're doing front of house, back of house menu creation, all of it. And I wonder how that's affected your view looking behind now. I always say hindsight's 2020, but how has it changed your perspective on it?
I mean, I have so much respect and admiration for restaurant chefs and,
Yeah.
restaurants in general, I know how difficult it is to run a business that doesn't have the overhead of a brick and mortar, so
Mhm.
it's so hard, and the people that do it are so passionate, and they do it anyway, and they do it despite, and they do it, they just have a love for it, and
So true.
so anytime I'm at a restaurant, especially if I'm having a great experience at a restaurant, it's like theater, It's like there's so many people required to do their job just so to make it go well. And,
Mhm.
I'm so in awe of the people that do that day in and day out.
I'm so curious, what are the kind of trends you're seeing right now and what people are requesting when it comes to the food or different kind of dietary things? I'm just curious where that's headed.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that we walk a fine line of staying in touch with food trends and things
Mhm.
like that, and also then sometimes disregarding them. I think for our clients who we cook for daily or weekly, those people are still eating at restaurants. They're going out on the weekends, and they're getting their like tweezer meals elsewhere.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
they're not really looking for that at home. Um, that being said, when we do a dinner party, sometimes they're plated and seated if that's what the client wants. Much of the time, they're family style. So I think that for us, like food trends really has the most common thing we're thinking about is like seasonality. And that's not even really a trend. It's just kind of evergreen, making
Hmm.
sure we're serving like really seasonal, really fresh delicious food. And then, making sure we're not serving like snoozy, like when a chef puts like a chicken teriyaki on a interview menu, I'm kind of like, well, have you opened a cookbook in the last like 10 years?
There's a lot of flavor.
There's nothing wrong with chicken teriyaki, but everything has a place. And so I think for us, it's really just trying to like really the biggest thing for us that people come looking for is to incorporate more vegetables into their diet in a way that doesn't make them feel like they're on a diet. Flipping like the plate from having like a animal protein as the main,
Mhm.
versus still including an animal protein, but maybe having it be like an accent as dish instead of like the main
Yeah,
stars, because maybe they've only had boiled Brussels sprouts, like
sure.
showing them, well, here's what happens when you fry it, or here's what happens, when you
That's real
roast,
good.
I
with
still can't stand them. I still can't do it. I just, I,
Really?
I mean, the boiled Brussels sprouts were a standard, Thanksgiving meal,
can't shake
and
it.
I couldn't shake it then. And then oh, they're fried, and there's bacon on it. And I'm like, the bacon was good. Yep.
Right, right.
I think
Okay.
I
I
love a fried Brussels sprout with the
just,
thick
yeah,
cut bacon. I'm like, sign me up. That
Yeah,
stuff is
yeah.
good.
I
yeah,
haven't crossed that. I tried. Haven't
yeah,
crossed the threshold yet. Can't do it.
yeah,
So what we enjoy in our house is the meal delivery service.
yeah,
I love to cook. I hate the conversation about what are we going to have for dinner tonight.
yeah,
That is the worst when you've got a family
yeah.
who likes what. And so is that becoming more mainstream? Is this going to be kind of the DoorDash culture, the Uber Eats culture of I can stay home and get what I want. I can also stay home and get groceries, and it just makes my life a whole lot easier. Or is this kind of still a luxury thing?
That's such a great question. I think there's like many levels of this and, many ways to answer this question. And it's something I think about a lot because there's a lot of ways to get dinner on the table, right? And they all have a place within life, And so
Mhm.
we're trying to always make sure that what we're bringing to our clients is like a luxury, high end service. It's really what sets us apart from all these other options that they have. And even the things like the meal delivery kits, those are amazing because they take mental load of what am I going to make
Exactly.
off of
Yes.
Yeah.
someone's plate. But there's still a lot of work. There's a lot of chopping, there's a lot of parts, and for somebody who like just doesn't want to do that, we are the solution for those people. It's just a different experience than, picking up prepared food from somewhere else or, kind of cobbling other things together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I
There's
think that
You're
like
trained in how to, like, the cooking time is about how to cut things properly so
yeah,
they finish at the same time, and
yeah,
the balance of seasoning and so on and so forth without having to have that conversation about, like, "Well, what are we gonna make?
yep,
And is our daughter gonna like it?"
yep. Yeah, that daughter is and whether or not she likes it, that is like the key to
Yes.
our longevity with families. I mean, if the parents love it, but the kids don't, it's like a game changer,
Yeah.
because if people are bringing us in and the parents love it, but the kids aren't eating it, it doesn't solve a problem. So kids can
It
be like
creates a
some of our
bigger problem.
yeah, kids
It's
are
so
our,
frustrating.
our
Well,
"This
toughest
happy
was so
ones.
kids, happy
good."
kids, happy parents, right? Like when the
100%.
kids when the
Yeah.
kids are happy, you're happy because they're not complaining. I
Yep,
mean, come on. Makes
That's exactly
sense.
right.
yep, yep.
It makes sense. Well, what's one of the more have you ever gotten like a crazy request, an unusual request where you're like, what do I do with this?
Yeah, I mean, lots of them. When I was in New York,
Mhm.
I was hired by like a staffing agency. I had become friends with a woman at a staffing agency and she called me up and she said, I have an interesting one for you. And there was some executive who lived on the West Coast, but came to New York, fairly regularly. And he and his wife had just had a baby. And when they were home, they had a chef at home who would make the baby's food. But when they were traveling with the baby, they didn't bring the chef, but they still wanted the baby to have homemade baby food. And so this was very early on. I was hired to make organic, interesting, delicious baby food and deliver it to like a very high-end boutique hotel in New York. And I would show up with like my cooler, like I was a drug dealer, to the front desk with the baby food. And it was kind of one of those things where I think in entrepreneurship and business ownership, you say yes first and then you figure out how to do it after.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, you fake it till you make it. And so I had never made baby food before, but I was a chef and I understood
Mhm.
food and flavors. And so I just went to Whole Foods and I bought every organic vegetable and I brought them home and I laid them out on my counter. And I started thinking about flavors and goat milk, yogurt, and pureed it. And so,
That
I
actually sounds pretty
I
good.
was about to say, would you have eaten this baby food
I
after you
did. I
delivered it?
tasted all of the baby
It
food.
was
Like,
just,
I kind of like this. I
Yeah.
I'm
got I
gonna
got
make it.
Yeah.
nutritional
And so
pouches on the go for adults and babies. And what was the biggest critics in the rooms? Were they a thumbs up or thumbs down, i.e. the baby?
oh, the baby loved it. I mean, imagine like you're dropping off and you're like, God, I hope the baby loves it.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking in my head. You're dropping off this giant pouch. You're like, please
Yeah.
eat it. Please eat
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And
Sometimes though
she
with
ate it.
with babies, like it's like they flung it across the room not because they hated it, just because they wanted to
That's
fling
true.
food
Right.
across the room. So you never
That's
Right.
know.
true.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that is
she
very
loved it,
true.
and they ended up being the family that had extended family in DC, and so it's kind of a good story of like you say yes, you do the thing because you never know where it's going to lead or what relationship it's going to turn into, and
Totally.
so that ended up being a really beautiful relationship in my career,
Oh,
um,
that's awesome.
because of baby food.
Who knew?
Interesting.
Like
Wow.
there was some last minute, with Eli, after a game, some of the guys are going to come back and can you make some snacks for them? And so I'm like, quickly putting together like the most important like tailgate or like post football game like party food of my life. Just thinking,
Mhm.
what are these guys going to want when they come home? So a lot of like, sort of last minute, here's what I have, what can I put together and how can I make it, delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With only an hour, without like an hour's
Yeah.
notice.
We had a
Yeah.
ultra high net worth client and they had a private plane and they wanted us to prepare their food for their flight. And, there's an element of like, okay, well, I've made it to the best of my ability and what happens to it in the sky is beyond my control. And
Right, because you're not there. You're like,
yeah,
you're sorry, you're all the way
yeah,
up there.
And
yeah.
I guess, do you leave instructions for the flight attendants about like, please don't screw this up because this
You
is how you
do.
do it? Or
You say,
yeah,
you package everything separately and you tell them. And that's another thing with even with our clients sometimes is like, we don't assume that anyone knows anything. You give very specific instructions because
That's
otherwise,
a good assumption.
yeah, people as cooks, we know certain things that I think we forget not everybody knows. And so, you know, dump and stir is not like good for anything really. So
Sorry, I just thought of the fold it in, fold it
fold it.
in,
Exactly. Can you tell me one thing?
fold it in. What do you mean fold it in? All right, sorry.
Yeah.
Spencer, back to you.
Well, I wanted to know about going back to your media days and like what is something that would surprise people about putting food on TV?
It's like the mashed potatoes is always the ice cream's
Yeah.
actually always mashed
Yes.
potatoes.
Yeah. So I think the thing I had been told about putting food on TV is that you don't eat the food that goes on TV. There's the food that goes on
Mhm.
TV and it's looked at and it's shown. But I had the opportunity to, for a little while, do all of the food segments for The View while their regular food stylist was on maternity leave. And with those situations, they are eating it. So there's like food that's out that's prepped ahead of time. And then the hosts are going to cook on air and put things together, and then they're going to taste the foods. You have to sort of be thinking through, okay, this is a look, don't touch. This is a look and touch. This is a look and touch and bite. So I
Mhm.
think a lot of the hosts are accustomed that they know that, not everything is the most delicious thing it's ever going to be. It has to look away.
Right.
But I think just communicating about like what should be put into their mouth versus not.
That's
And I
interesting.
think another surprising thing about, food on TV is like it sits under lights for a long time. And so there's a lot
Mm.
of zhuzhing that happens, like having lots of extra things to replace the leaf that has totally wilted. And there's just a lot of refreshing that happens under lights.
I vividly remember a David Letterman episode where they made something and Dave did like, he took the smallest bite ever, goes, Paul, get over here and try this. And he tried it. You could just see. And Paul was like, really good. But it was just,
Yeah.
no, it was not good at all. You could tell from his face.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think there's a
It's probably been sitting
notorious
out there.
There's like there's like a notorious episode, I think, where Jada was on Oprah and Oprah did not like whatever she ate and was visible about it. And yeah, so
Not Oprah.
Oprah. I know.
Oprah's got like the power to blow up your business.
No,
Yeah.
I
I
know.
mean,
She had it fine, though.
I know.
She's,
That is okay.
she's still going.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's all right. But yeah.
she got lucky. She got real lucky. We always ask all of our guests this now, but do you have a hot take for the industry you want to share?
Okay. I don't know that this is a hot take, but this is something that's been really pivotal and central for me as I've built Nourish. And that is, and I think it kind of goes all the way back to my media experience. I had a really toxic, abusive female boss who really made me feel small. And when I was leaving the restaurant that I worked in and deciding to try to go out and be a personal chef, I told the chef that I was going to try to do that. And he sort of like laughed at me and said I had no business being anyone's personal chef. And who did I think I was? And then about a month later, I had started working with Eli and ran into that chef and was able to be like,
Nice.
I,
Good for you.
Yeah.
um, I
Look at me now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what has always been important to me is creating for myself first a work environment that is healthy and feels safe and where I don't have like any kind of pit in my stomach about anything that I'm doing or anyone I'm doing it with. And that goes with clients too, certain clients kind of show you early on how they're going to treat you. And in the beginning, you don't want to say no to anything. You want to take on everything, but over time, it becomes more comfortable saying no when you know it's not right because you just can tell how a person is going to treat you. And so I think as I've grown Nourish and have brought people into the fold, it's been just like non-negotiable for me to create a workplace where people feel comfortable and like they're part of something and like they're valued and within reason, you can't take advantage of that. But my admin team is a bunch of young women with young children, and we take turns when our kids get sick, calling out or
Hmm.
doing each other's jobs when necessary because we're in that phase of life. And I've had enough experience with people that didn't, treat me well to know that I never wanted to be responsible for making someone else feel that way.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I think, slowly, the industry is kind of having different points of reckoning with that, see recent news. But I just think
Yeah.
there are there are teachable things and unteachable things. I can teach a chef whose like knife cuts aren't great to like clean it up a bit, but I can't teach them to be respectful and on time and, kind. So
You're responsible for your own attitude.
yeah,
And there's no reason for it anymore. There's
yeah,
no reason to. I think it just that seemed to be the norm, and that's I treat
Done.
people awful because I was treated
yeah,
awful, and I got through it,
yeah.
and I'm a better person for it. I don't think you are. I don't think you understand the psychology behind it. Setting a standard and holding people to a high standard does not have to be done through berating or physical violence. You're all part of the same industry. Private chefs in their home, in the kitchen, and it's all hard. All of it is difficult. Everyone should be looking to bring each other up.
That you're breaking the cycle. I feel like we've heard that from a lot of our guests recently who had some of those experiences in the kitchen where it was like it was awful. And I now don't want to create that for the next people or the people that I hire.
And I know it's prevalent in this industry because of the pressure, but like not saving lives, like
Yeah,
or
this
not.
isn't the ER.
Yeah,
No, it's
exactly.
food. It's meant to like nourish people, Why are the people making it any less important than the people that it's being served to? And
That's
Hmm.
so
right.
odd.
Yeah,
True.
totally.
All
Well,
right.
this was great. Before you go, we have a really quick on the fly round.
I need 2 on the fly.
What's one kitchen tool every home cook should absolutely own?
Um, Microplane.
Ooh,
I love
yeah,
a
I have one.
microplane. I don't ever want to mince a garlic clove with a knife.
No, I do all my garlic on the microplane, 100%. Ginger as well
Ginger,
goes really well.
garlic,
Yep,
zest,
yeah,
a
yep.
nutmeg. Yeah, microplane and a fish spatula is another like great. That's a my
Oh, I
cue.
don't have one of those. A fish spatula, yes. What's the biggest mistake people make when cooking at home?
Their heat's too low.
Yes,
When
or
people
too
try to
high.
roast vegetables at 350, I'm like, "No, no, turn it up." And also,
I
home ovens are just not the temperature they say they are. So, A, not having a in-oven thermometer, and B,
hmm
crank up that heat.
100%.
Okay, last one here. What's a food trend that you wish would disappear?
Mm,
Truffle oil.
I feel like truffle's very easily overdone.
Yeah, it
mhm.
just doesn't belong on every menu, If you're a sushi restaurant, you don't have to have truffle on your menu. No.
No,
Yes.
not at all. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not. I'm sorry. I agree with you. When I see it on the rest, some of these menus, I'm like, nah,
Yeah,
I'm good.
yeah,
yeah.
no. Doesn't more isn't always more. Yeah.
Hmm. So true. Well, thanks for being with us here today. This was a great conversation, and I loved hearing all about your business. And congrats on all the success of the business as well. It's
Thank
an amazing
you.
accomplishment.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It was so fun talking to you guys.
Thank you so much. So You Want to Run a Restaurant is created by Back of House, produced and hosted by Claudia Sarek, with Nick Florick as executive producer. Marketing by Hillary Young and Ashley Dunn. Creative by Manisha Kishinchan. And live production by Sarah Heemstra. And of course me, your co-host, Spencer Michael. For more information, visit backofhouse.io/podcast.